Fragmented personality disorder was one of the interesting finds by the Nazi scientists that were brought over to the United States after World War II during something called Operation Paperclip. These Nazi scientists were working on building the perfect soldier, the perfect killing machine, as it was also known. And during their research, they found they could enslave a person just by controlling the mind. This was once known as schizophrenia, but is known as multiple personality disorder or fragmented personality disorder. Fragmented personality disorder is the title of something, description that occurs in the person's mind because of a trauma-based event, and the mind fragments, and a little piece of the mind stores that information and enables the person not to literally lose their mind. So anytime that there's something trauma-based, it will be stored in that small area of the mind. And that area will be used anytime they see something that is trauma-based, or feel something, or hear something, or experience all of the three. And then that piece is put back into its place, and they act as though they've always acted when not under this trauma. For now, we're going to set our sights on Hollywood and the music industry. The music industry and Hollywood both have an enormous amount of talented actors and actresses, singers, songwriters, playwriters, and so on. Hollywood is filled with slaves, mind control slaves, and handlers. In the 40s and 50s, slave handlers such as Frank Sinatra, Peter Lawford, Colonel Tom Parker, Senator Robert Byrd, all handled actors and actresses and other slaves that were being used for other things we'll talk about later. Crystal Gayle was a handled singer, country singer. Loretta Lynn is another well-known name in the country music industry, and she is also mind controlled and handled. Loretta Lynn is not allowed to drive her vehicle. She's allowed to drive on her ranch, but she's not allowed to drive off of her ranch in anywhere, any place. She is to be driven anywhere she needs to go. A very big name in Hollywood and in the music industry was Elvis Presley, who was handled by Colonel Tom Parker, who was not a real colonel. That was just his title. And he was given drugs as much as he wanted until he was hooked, and then he was controlled that way. Another notable name would be Roseanne Barr, who admits to being mind controlled and handled from a youngster. Rita Hayworth, another actress from the old days. The most interesting would have to be Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn was brought up in foster homes. Her mother died at a very young age, and she was brought up in foster homes that, interestingly, always included sexual abuse, even by a minister. She was in a minister's home. I believe that's the last home that she was in as a foster child, and then she went off on her own. Marilyn's home, once she became an actress and very well known, her home was covered with mirrors, and she had a view of herself from all angles at all times. Even her ceilings in the dining room were covered with mirrors. And this was all part of the fragmented personality that her psychiatrist was trying to create. Her psychiatrist was her handler, and she visited him every day. Marilyn Monroe was known as a monarch, and in the monarch program, she was a presidential model. The word model being used just like the type of a car, the car model, make, serial number. Well, she was a presidential model, and she was used by VIPs only, and used for sexual purposes. Others, incidentally, were used as spies, and were used because of their photographic memory skills. But in Marilyn Monroe's case, she was used as somebody to pass around to VIPs. Sadly, I believe we probably all know of her death and how it occurred, and the big mystery surrounding her death. She was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, and her death was no accident. She was going to have a press conference the day after she supposedly committed suicide. She had her entire house bugged. She had caught on to what was going on with her in her life. And once she woke up, or began to wake up from this mind control, she only made 6 movies after that. Prior to that, she had made many movies. Her last movie was The Misfits. Kind of an interesting title. But Marilyn Monroe was definitely one of the biggest presidential models known in Hollywood at that time. Oh, and just another notable name is Kiefer Sutherland. We all know him from the show 24. Everybody seems to like that show. And he's a fantastic actor, but he's another actor that is obsessed with mirrors. And notice the mirror image in what he's doing right now with both hands in the picture. Anybody who's familiar with Stanley Kubrick is also familiar with the movie Eyes Wide Shut, a film with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. She was his wife at the time the movie was made. And Stanley Kubrick gave away a lot of what's known as mind control secrets, or also known as Illuminati secrets, knowledge secrets. Here you see Tom Cruise wearing a mask and a hood, where he goes to a party that he has not been invited to, and it's a party of the very elite. He secretly got his way into the party, and while he was there, he comes across something that he's never seen before, and that's slaves, mind-controlled slaves in a very sexual setting, along with VIPs. And at first he's not nervous about being there, but one of the slaves, the slave you see here in this picture, knows who he is and knows he's not supposed to be there, and she tries to warn him. Very interesting movie, because if you watch it, it does give away a lot of secrets. In this still, you see a young teenager. She's the daughter of the owner of the shop where Tom Cruise rents his costume from, where he gets his cloak and mask. And at the time he's renting, it's after hours. And she's found in the back room of the shop, this teenage girl, by her father and Tom Cruise with two men. Later on, you see another scene with this same young girl, and the father isn't angry any longer, and you see these two young men with this girl, and they're exiting the store. And Tom Cruise asks about it, and he's not given an answer as to why the father reacted one way, angrily, the night before, and then reacted a totally different way the next day. But what's meant to be said here is that the Illuminati, the handlers, the controllers, got to him, and the father realized that he could make money from his daughter, and she was put into the program. That's what's being said in this clip. In part 2 of this video, we're going to name names, explain techniques, and show evidence that wasn't shown in part 1 as to the techniques used to form a mind-controlled slave and the sinister basis on which this is built from, and what doctors were involved, what Nazi scientists were involved, and so on. This will be coming out very shortly, so thanks for watching.